Miraculous NDE, Jesus reveals 3 divine truths about Trump's sacred mission for America. Mary's heart raced as she lay on the surgical table, straddling the line between fear and hope. A familiar calm washed over her, though years of prayer had taught her to trust God in every moment. But today felt different. As the anesthesia began to take hold, she glimpsed a light, radiant and warm, pulling her into a vibrant world beyond her wildest imagination. This new realm was like nothing she'd ever seen. Colors danced, vibrant and alive, filled with a heavenly glow. A gentle breeze, fragrant with flowers, wrapped around her. As miles of worry unraveled, a figure emerged from the light, Jesus Christ himself. His presence was overwhelming, yet so comforting. Mary's heart swelled as she fell to her knees, trembles of reverence coursing through her. "Mary," he spoke with a voice that felt like a warm embrace. "I have truths to share with you, truths that will guide your nation." She listened breathless, as he unfolded 3 divine messages about a sacred mission intertwined with America's destiny, involving the unlikely figure of Donald Trump. Each truth shimmered like gold, filling her with inspiration, purpose, and a hint of trepidation for what lay ahead. The cool edge of the operating table jolted her back into stark reality. Mary woke up, a fire igniting within her heart. She rushed to tell her husband, Michael, her excitement palpable, but he dismissed her. "Mary, it's just the drugs talking," he said, his voice laced with skepticism. But she couldn't tune out the urgency in her spirit. She had to share this. Mary rallied her courage and began to speak of her experience at the weekly prayer group, and the excitement that flickered in the congregation was met with cool dismissal. "You're imagining things," one friend said, her voice a mix of disbelief and pity. The cooler glances from her community felt heavy, turning her joy into a lead ball sinking lower in her heart. Desperate, Mary gathered her family every night for prayer, invoking the saints, pleading for clarity and strength in face of doubt. The weight of disbelief pressed down on her, but the divine truth echoed in her heart. She decided to host an open gathering at the church, a chance to unveil the revelations she'd received. The night was charged, hope and fear mingling thickly in the air. As she shared her encounter, the energy in the room shifted. A man, confined to a wheelchair for years, suddenly felt a surge of strength. He stood, shaky at first, then confidently, to the gasps of the crowd. His eyes glowed with astonishment, and Mary felt a wave of divine presence wash over her, a confirmation, a mystical seal on her calling. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." But as murmurs of hope swept through the congregation, the counterattacks began. Some claimed fanaticism, others accused Mary of deception. As doubts intensified and voices of dissent grew louder, a wave of turmoil crashed on her faith. Standing on the precipice, Mary felt the divine nudge urging her to embrace her calling wholeheartedly. Would she sink into silence, or would her faith lead her through this tempest? The colors of that radiant realm flickered in her memory, and a question pulsated at the back of her mind. What other challenges awaited as she sought to inspire her community with the miraculous mission assigned to her? Mary's spirit stirred within her, battling the tide of dissent that seemed to rise beyond her control. In prayer, she sought solace and strength. "Lord, guide me through this storm," she whispered, feeling the weight of the world's disbelief pressing down. Yet, in that moment of surrender, a whisper of divine reassurance filled her heart. It was just an ordinary calling. It carried a promise from heaven. Days turned into weeks as Mary continued her mission. Each session at the church grew into a fierce battleground of ideas, faith, and skepticism. She hosted more gatherings, inviting anyone willing to come and listen to the messages she had received. With every meeting, she scrutinized the scriptures, looking for connections to support her revelations. She was determined to arrange her experience within biblical scopes, feeling the urgent need to align God's word with the truths she had been shown. One evening, as she spoke of God's grace through trials, whispering the visions of hope and renewal that Jesus had revealed, a young woman named Sarah approached her. "Mary," she said softly, her eyes glistening with tears, "I've been struggling with my faith, but your conviction is inspiring. I want to believe." The warmth of connection between them was palpable. In that moment, Mary felt ignited, knowing that impact could ripple through the hearts of those who remained open to faith. If her experience could offer hope to Sarah, perhaps it could extend beyond that, touching lives in ways she could not yet comprehend. Mary prayed with Sarah, binding their spirits in unwavering hope and belief. All around them, others began to gather, drawn to the light of their shared faith. As the weeks passed, miracles began to manifest in their community. Stories of healing, reconciliation, and renewed spirits began to pour in. Mary listened with bated breath as people spoke of dreams and visions that aligned with the truths she believed God had revealed to her. It was as if the very fabric of doubt that had once enveloped her life was shifting, creating a patchwork of faith that began to inspire her congregation. However, the skepticism was never far behind. It materialized in the form of threatening emails and social media posts filled with accusations. Some labeled her a false prophet, while others openly mocked her mission. Each hateful message weighed heavy on her heart, yet each time she turned to the Lord in prayer, she found a wellspring of strength. Determination swelled within her to continue in faith. In the quiet moments of evening prayer, she reaffirmed her commitment, whisking away deep doubts with declarations of faith. "I will trust you, Lord. You've shown me truth. I will not waver." Those words became like armor for her heart as her resolve burned brighter. During one particular gathering, as she spoke deeply about America's path, a loud voice broke through the stillness. It was a firm voice, filled with righteous anger. "How dare you claim these truths? You are leading people astray." Mary turned, feeling the heat of challenge radiating from the man, a well-known local figure heavy with authority. The tension in the air thickened like clouds before a storm, and many gasps echoed throughout the hall. Taking a deep breath, she replied, "If I am in error, let God reveal it. But if I stand on His truth, I will not be silenced." The words left her lips as sparks of courage ignited a fire deep within. What would be the outcome of this confrontation? Would her faith withstand the storm? She could feel God's presence, urging her forward. Mary recognized that this moment could reshape everything. Yet doubt lingered. The path ahead remained uncertain. Where would her journey take her next? And could she truly rally her community to embrace the mission that had been divinely bestowed upon her? The atmosphere crackled as Mary faced the crowd. A mixture of fear and resolve surged within her. The man's words had pierced the air, but she could feel something greater surrounding her, a divine strength, much like the fiery spirit of a well-lit candle in the midst of night. "Lord, help me," she breathed silently, aware that she stood on the edge of a spiritual precipice. The congregation watched, captivated. Some faces were turned in judgment, while others reflected curiosity and support. This was not just a moment of confrontation but a divine intersection of faith and doubt. Mary sensed that God was at work, stirring hearts to open or close, to believe or to walk away. "Let us seek the truth together," she boldly declared, drawing in her gathered audience. "I stand before you not as a prophet but as a willing servant of God." Her voice trembled with earnestness, the passion propelling her words like arrows toward the very souls of the people before her. In every scripture lies the breath of heavenly wisdom, and countless times God has turned the tides when His people believed. The skeptical man stepped closer, defiance in his eyes. "And what makes you any different from those who twisted scripture for their gain?" His question cut through the air, stirring murmurs and whispers among the crowd. In that instant, Mary felt an inner shift. It was as if shadows receded, revealing a well of courage that had rested deep within her all along. "I depend not on myself but on the Holy Spirit," she retorted, her voice lifted from the very depths of her faith. "God's revelation to me is not for self-gain but for His glory. It's for a call to unity, healing, and divine purpose." The ripple effect was immediate. Those who had wrestled with their emotions began to nod. Others shared hushed whispers of agreement. Mary could sense the shift. It was subtle, yet powerful, like the first light of dawn breaking through a darkened sky. "Mary, what do you believe these truths to be?" Sarah, who had found the courage to speak, asked, stepping forward. Her faith was alive, sparking questions of hope among the crowd. Mary took a moment, her heart racing, the weight of her mission pressing down yet buoyed by fervent expectation. "I believe God is leading us to understand three divine truths," she began, her eyes scanning the faces before her, each reflecting a profound yearning. "Firstly, we are called to love our enemies. In a world filled with fear, love is the key to break down barriers." "Well said," a voice cried from the back, stirring a wave of murmurs. "Secondly," Mary continued, her confidence swelling with each word, "we must embrace the diversity in our community. God's kingdom is vast, and in this embrace lies the unification of His children." A cheering chorus followed her declaration, igniting the spirits around her. And lastly, she paused, letting the weight of her words sink in, "we must remain vigilant, upholding the principles of righteousness. For in the pursuit of justice, we align with heaven's purpose." As she delivered her proclamation, lights seemed to shimmer in the room, a candid awareness enveloping her. The heaviness began to lift, replaced by eager hearts and hopeful spirits. Yet the man's disapproval lingered, brewing storm clouds in the atmosphere. "You claim divine truth, but how can we know it is real?" he challenged again, his voice steady yet brittle. Mary met his gaze, her own uncertainty nipped by rising conviction. "Truth will reveal itself through action. Let us test its fruit together." With the challenge laid bare, a sacred silence engulfed the room. Everyone knew this was not just a simple moment, but a turning point, a divine invitation to create, to explore, and to embrace what lay ahead. As hope reignited in the hearts of the people around her, Mary took a deep breath, inviting them into the call of action. She could feel God's hand guiding her still, calling her into a deeper mystery. What doors would open with their courage? How would the ties of skepticism that bound their hearts begin to unravel? "Let us seek His will together." Step by step, Mary urged, turning the spark of that moment into a promise for tomorrow. But as the murmurs of agreement colored the air, Mary couldn't shake the thought that lingered in her heart: what if the greatest challenge was just beginning? What if these truths were but the first glimpse of an even larger divine plan unfolding before them? The silence enveloped Mary like a gentle embrace, each moment a heartbeat echoing with anticipation. Eyes flickered with uncertainty, but also with a flicker of belief, the kind that only arises when fear tangles with hope. It was a sacred moment, a thin veil between doubt and faith, and Mary stood poised to tear it aside. Initially, she caught sight of Sarah's hopeful expression, her eyes wide with a readiness to embrace whatever came next. It was clear, this could be their time and the time of many others who had longed for a sense of belonging in God's family. But the atmosphere remained charged with tension, the skeptical man's lingering doubts still weaving through the crowd like a shadow refusing to disperse. "Mary," another voice called, a gentle timbre coming from the older gentleman on the left. "You speak of love, unity, and justice. But in our hearts we carry wounds. How can we step toward healing when our past haunts us?" His question sparked a deep longing in the group, many nodding in agreement as they shared unspoken burdens. "Ah, yes!" Mary exclaimed, her heart beginning to ache for the pain of her fellow believers. "Healing is indeed a journey, one steered by our faith in God's promises. We cannot ignore our scars, but rather, we must allow Him to transform them into testimonies. Just as they say, it's often through our wounds that we can truly discover grace." A murmuration of amens wafted through the gathering, pulling Mary's spirit upwards. Hope glimmered, and she sensed the presence of the Holy Spirit stirring within the crowd, instilling courage and a touch of joy. Isn't that the essence of faith? To lean on God and let Him turn our burdens into blessings? He takes our hurt, our confusion, and somehow spins His tapestry of beauty from it. The man's eyebrows furrowed, yet curiosity painted the edges of his expression. "But what does this beautiful tapestry look like? How can we trust in something we can't see?" Mary felt a surge of energy bursting within her chest, her faith igniting with clarity. "It looks like us," she proclaimed, arms outstretched wide as if reaching for something far beyond something divine. "It looks like a community bound by love. It looks like healing hearts uniting for a purpose greater than ourselves. When we cooperate with grace, we illuminate the darkness." The crowd began to stir, individuals shifting closer, drawn in by the light of hope ignited in Mary's earnestness. It was as if her faith was a flame catching a wind of revival, breathing life into the weary spirits around her. Yet still, the man stepped forward, his face twisting between skepticism and intrigue. "And what of our future? If we commit to this path, what can we expect? Will it benefit us? Or are we heading only toward a greater trial?" "Ah, my friend," Mary replied, a softness entering her voice. "Commitment always brings about growth, but growth can be painful. Think of a seed buried deep within the cold ground. It can't see the sun, yet it stretches with fierce determination, trusting the provider. The journey may come with trials, but it also carries triumphs unseen. Each step toward faith sings of a beautiful mystery." In this echo of revelation, she stood a little taller, a sense of divine confidence awakening in her core as whispers of affirmation began to rise around her. Each expression mirrored a sacred response to vulnerability and faith intertwined, ready to invite a new chapter under God's grace. The crowd was beginning to breathe hope, yet, beneath it all lay an unshakable tension. Was this faith simply a stepping stone or a bridge to a far more significant journey? Someone shouted, "How do we begin, Mary?" Mary, feeling the weight and thrill of the question, looked deeply into the crowd's eager faces, each embodying a soul ready for transformation. "Step by step, my friends. Come together, pray and serve. For every foot placed in faith aligns with God's purpose. And remember, the greatest gifts sometimes blossom in the most unexpected trials." As she uttered her last words, a sense of urgency surged through her. Something within her whispered that the challenge had just begun, and the fullness of God's plan was yet to unfold dramatically. The seeds of doubt were not eradicated. They lay waiting in the hearts of a crowd poised on the brink of revelation. But what could this divine journey demand of them? What preparations awaited as they took their first steps into the unknown? The answers danced just beyond the horizon. The crowd began to shift, murmurs fluttering like leaves in the wind. Hopeful gazes locked onto Mary, each individual ready to catch what she'd share next. A weight hung in the air, charged with possibility. Mary took a deep breath, sensing the Spirit's presence wash over her, painting warmth across her heart. "Friends," she said, her voice steady. "To begin, we must cultivate a spirit of unity. We are called to gather, to lift each other up. Just as the branches of a tree reach toward the heavens, so must we stretch towards one another in love." Instinctively, hands began to clasp together, forming a network of connection and vulnerability. In that physical act, something intangible shifted. It was as if the own walls each had built were slowly crumbling, revealing the beauty they carried within. "Unity does not mean conformity," Mary continued. "God rejoices in our differences. Each of us has a unique role. Just like the parts of a body, we're not all eyes or ears. Our diversity is a divine design. But when we come together in love, we reflect His glory." A ripple of understanding glided through the crowd. Faces softened, hearts opened. Yet one voice rose above the rest, a young woman with tears glimmering in her eyes. "But what if we stumble along the way? What if our fears overshadow our faith?" "Ah, my dear sister," Mary replied, a gentle smile illuminating her face. "Stumbling can often be a sacred part of our journey. The Lord does not scorn our missteps. Instead, He holds us as we learn. Picture Peter, who walked on water until he saw the waves. Yet, even when he sank, Jesus was right there to lift him back up." Nods of agreement echoed throughout the group, the story sparking encouragement like flares igniting in the twilight. Hope kindled further as Mary spoke. "It's through recognizing our frailty that we unveil His strength. It's the essence of grace. When we confess our doubts, God's power is magnified. Together, we learn to trust and, in doing so, we rise. The congregation was beginning to hum with enthusiasm, liberated by the idea of a faith that allowed for weakness and fear. They felt more alive, empowered to own their stories and thereby share them. Next, we must commit to a life of service. It's not about being served, but becoming servants, Mary declared, her hands gesturing passionately. Consider how Jesus walked among us, never seeking honor, but pouring out his love and healing. Can we not extend that same grace? Our actions can be the voice of love in a world longing for hope. Why does it matter? A middle-aged man questioned, his brow furrowed but curiosity glimmering in his eyes. What of our voices? Does service overshadow our need for recognition? In God's kingdom, true recognition comes through humility, Mary answered firmly, yet lovingly. It's when we serve others that we discover the heart of Jesus. Each selfless act draws us closer to him and reveals our purpose. At that moment, whispers melded into a glorious symphony of Amen. Yes. Praise him. Eyes sparkled with holy light, and Mary could feel the Spirit entwining with each soul, pulling them deeper into the truth of their shared mission. Yet, amidst this fervor, a quiet question lingered: how would they put these divine messages into practice? As the group began to contemplate the potential of their commitment, an unexpected shadow flickered at the edges of their hearts. Were they truly ready to brave the unknown, to embrace both challenge and change? What trials awaited them on this sacred path? Would they trust in God's guidance when the journey turned dark? The excitement of initiative danced, but so did the whispers of hesitation. And in the ambiguous space, they felt the pulling of faith, a call into the great unknown. What awaited them just beyond courage's first steps? A hush fell over the gathering as Mary stood before them. The warm glow of the setting sun bathed the crowd in gold, and a sense of anticipation electrified the air. Each heart beat with both fear and excitement, an intermingling of doubt and hope. We may wonder, will our next steps lead us to uncertainty? Mary continued, her voice firm yet soothing. Yes, the road ahead is not without its bumps. But remember, every miracle is birthed through the willingness to embrace discomfort and leap into the unknown. Around her, the crowd leaned in, eyes bright with curiosity. Mary felt the Spirit nudging her forward, urging her to delve deeper into the truth they all so desperately needed. Let us take a moment to remind ourselves of the great love that compels us, she declared, raising her arms wide as if to embrace them all. Just as Jesus led his disciples into storms, he does not abandon us in chaos. Look at how he parted the waters, not before, but when the Israelites stepped into the raging river. They took that brave step forward not knowing how it would end, their faith igniting what seemed impossible. The crowd was silent, absorbing these words, contemplating their own storms. The thought of stepping forward, of trusting despite uncertainty, stirred something divine within them. It was then that an older gentleman spoke up. But Mary, what if we are overwhelmed with fear? What if our efforts lead to failure? His voice trembled slightly, revealing the vulnerability that had taken hold of his spirit. Ah, dear friend, Mary replied, her voice lowering to an intimate whisper. Fear is but a shadow that cannot envelope the light. It's in our trembling moments that grace shines brightest. Remember, even the mightiest trees bend in the storm. But they do not break, they become stronger, rooted deeper in faith. We're like those trees. A young boy called out, breaking the tension with a bright smile. We can grow tall, right? Yes. Mary responded, beaming at him. And even when the winds howl against us, we lean into each other for support. Just like the branches of a tree, every season may bring its trials, but together we are a mighty forest. A wave of affirmation rippled through the crowd. Hope bubbled as they realized the incredible potential bound within their community. It was not about their individual strength, but about standing united through uncertainties and trials. In this unity, Mary continued, her tone growing more intense, we also discover the divine truth that drives us. Love is action. We must show up for one another, with our hearts and hands willing to serve. With every heartbeat, the atmosphere shifted, excitement surged through the air like electricity. They lifted their voices in agreement, an uproar of "Yes, Lord," echoing around them. Yet, as faces glowed with newfound resolve, a question brushed against the edges of their spirits. What specific acts of love and service would they take on? What tangible ways could they weave their faith into the fabric of their community? Tension crept in again, a moment of contemplation. Would they truly take those steps? Would they surrender their comfort to reach out? Mary could sense the stirring. She leaned in closer, her eyes shimmering with conviction. Friends, it's time to answer this calling. Let us move forward, allowing love to stir our hearts into action. Let us not only speak of faith but live it in our very bones. As the echoes of agreement and resolve solidified among the crowd, the sunlight began to fade, casting long shadows across the ground. Yet within these shadows lay the promise of an awakening, a breakthrough and a thrill of what was yet to come. What miraculous opportunities awaited them on this new journey? Would they find the courage to step into the arena of love and service, ready to embrace whatever God laid before them? How would their lives reflect the compassion they so fervently spoke of? As night fell softly around them, they stood on the brink of a divine adventure, each heart primed for the extraordinary ahead. As the last rays of sunlight slipped beneath the horizon, the atmosphere thickened with an electric excitement. The crowd found themselves enveloped in the embrace of twilight, each soul wrestling with the whispered call of purpose. Mary's message lingered, igniting sparks of possibility that danced in their hearts. Let us begin right here, right now, Mary proposed, her eyes glimmering with unwavering determination. We need not wait for a grand stage or a perfect moment. The simple acts of kindness, those are the threads that weave the fabric of community. A murmur of agreement rippled through the audience. Faces lit up as they considered how their small gestures could make waves of change. It was an unveiling of collective potential, each person becoming a vessel to share the love they had so fervently discussed. Imagine, Mary continued, her voice rising with fervor, a family struggling to put food on the table. A neighbor battling loneliness. A child yearning for guidance. Will we allow our discomfort to stop us from stepping in? I believe we will embrace love in action. We will choose to be that light. With that, she thrust her hands toward the sky, invoking not only the strength of their intentions but the assurance of divine support. The crowd erupted with fervor, their hearts synchronized in passionate agreement. Gratitude poured out like a river, each word of reassurance and promise a brick laying the foundation of new beginnings. As whispers of possibility danced around them, a woman named Sarah rose from her place at the back of the gathering. But Mary, what if our attempts fall flat? What if we stumble when we're trying to help? Her voice quivered, yet passion wrapped her questions. That fear, dear Sarah, is merely a pathway to humility, Mary responded warmly. When we move with sincere hearts, we honor the courage it takes to act. Each stumble only deepens our connection to others. Jesus didn't speak of perfection but of grace and relentless love. In our honest attempts, we reflect his heart. In that moment, something shifted in the air. A profound wave of unity washed over them, redefining their shared fears into transformative hope. They began to share their thoughts, powerful ideas rising like a chorus, thoughts of food drives, community gatherings, mentorship programs, the seeds of service being planted deeply into fertile soil. Mary encouraged the visions, yes. Each step we take, each act of kindness, becomes a ripple. What we do for one another, we do for him. The world may seem dark, but we are children of the light, carrying the torch of divine love. Let us not underestimate how God can multiply our efforts. Amidst the growing enthusiasm, old doubts flickered like distant shadows, perhaps lingering in the hearts of some. Mary noticed the way they shifted uneasily, thoughts of inadequacy creeping in. Remember, she said gently, love does not require perfect conditions. When we stand together, we create a symphony of authentic faith, a chorus that pierces through the noise of fear and doubt. With every voice, we amplify hope, and the echo can be felt far beyond our reach. As Mary spoke, the night deepened, drawing stars into the firmament above. Each individual sensed a stirring of courage, a fiery determination rising like dawn's first light. What's next? Someone shouted, their voice filled with eagerness. We're just beginning. Mary beamed. We need to come together and deliberate. Let us plan. Let us set aside our worries and engage our community. Let us step boldly into the glow of shared purpose. A collective excitement surged, creating a palpable current of energy. However, as they contemplated their next steps, a heavy blanket of stillness enveloped them. What if their plans were met with challenges? What if they faced trials they hadn't anticipated? The night beckoned them, inviting reflection, as they stood on the threshold of their journey and adventure that promised uncertainty yet abundant grace. As they prepared to break into smaller groups to brainstorm, a question lingered among them like the crisp night air: would faith sustain them through the challenges to come? What miracles lay ahead, hidden beneath the surface of their efforts? The answers awaited. As the cool night air washed over them, Mary gathered the people into small circles, encouraging each group to deepen their vision. Laughter mingled with the occasional hesitant voice as they mapped out plans, their ideas floating like bright lanterns against the darkness. Each flicker of thought danced on the breeze, calling forth vibrant dreams of connection and service. Listen closely, Mary urged, moving from group to group, her presence as comforting as a warm embrace. Every spark we create must be ignited by the very heart of Christ. He laid the path of love before us. It's up to us to walk in it. In one circle, a young mother named Jessica spoke up, her eyes shining with determination. Can we organize a community dinner for those who might be alone? We can gather food and share our stories. It would not just fill empty stomachs, but nurture hearts. Yes, cheered a man named David, his arms outstretched as if to catch the fluttering enthusiasm in the air. Let us reach out to the local shelters. We can spread our kindness like bread, offering what we can to those amidst hunger. Mary nodded, sensing the energy of hope sparkling like stars above them. That's the essence. What other gifts do we have to offer? It could be your warmth, your laughter, or simply your attention. The circles buzzed with fresh ideas. Voices were lifted, and hands gestured animatedly. Each person was woven into the growing tapestry of community. There was a miraculous shift happening. Fear melted into excitement as each realized their capacity to sow seeds of kindness. With each shared idea, their hearts grew closer, reflecting the love they desired to extend. Yet, amid the enthusiasm, there remained an undercurrent of apprehension. Mary noticed it, the particularly restless glances that flitted about, a hushed question lingering on the periphery. How would they manage the obstacles ahead? Would their best intentions be enough? Let us not forget it's not solely about what we can do, Mary interjected gently. It's also about who we are inviting into this journey. Together, we embody a living prayer. Let us ask Him to thrive in our efforts, not just on the successful outcomes. The groups fell silent, the truth of her words settling over them like a soft blanket. They closed their eyes, uniting their voices in a simple, heartfelt prayer. Lord, we trust in You. Under Your guidance, we will undertake this mission together, with open hearts and willing hands. Fill us with Your love. As they opened their eyes, a shared peace enveloped them. They felt reassured that their collective effort was part of something greater. A song of hope began to rise within their spirits, mingling with the starry night above. Mary stepped back, feeling the palpable presence of unity filling the space. Now let us make this tangible. Find another member of our community, share what you will do, and let us embark on our respective missions within the next week. The energy in the air was electric, a sense of purpose binding them together. The sound of soft laughter and earnest conversation filled the night, nourishing the faith within them all. They began to exchange contact details, pledging to support one another and share their stories of kindness. Each promise ignited further determination, warmth blossoming in even the shyest hearts. Yet, in the stillness of their excitement, Mary sensed a stirring threshold, a whisper from the Spirit hinting at the significant challenges they would face. Would their faith hold firm in times of adversity? What would test their resolve on this sacred journey? As they continued to talk and plan, the night deepened, and within it, a call echoed. What divine revelation awaited them as they took that first step? The first rays of dawn kissed the horizon, casting a golden light over the town as Mary awoke with renewed determination. She felt an urgency within her, as if a divine hand was guiding her thoughts. She remembered the faces of her friends from the night before. The fire of hope in their eyes spoke volumes. They were ready to step forward, but she sensed more than excitement. There was a reckoning on the horizon. Gathering her notebook, Mary began jotting down ideas, but uncertainty danced at the edges of her mind. Each plan felt engulfed by the looming questions. How would they navigate the complexities of their mission? Would their limited resources withstand the vast needs of their community? But then she remembered the prayer shared the night before. They had laid their hopes at the feet of Christ, uniting their hearts in surrender. Lord, she whispered, guide us in truth and clarity. As the sun rose higher, casting warming rays into her room, Mary felt compelled to gather everyone once more. They needed to touch base, to refocus under the mantle of His love and wisdom before they set their feet to the tasks ahead. At the community center, the air was vibrant with the mingling voices of familiar faces. Mary felt a swell of gratitude. She looked around and saw David sharing details with Jessica, both animated as they brought forth their ideas. Others exchanged smiles and hopeful glances, and the room pulsed with shared energy. Can I have your attention, everyone? Mary called out, her voice inviting them to settle into a moment of reflection. Before we move forward, we must anchor ourselves. I believe there is something we need to prepare for spiritually. The crowd quieted, the fervor of planning giving way to expectancy. You've all shown such bright ideas, and now we must invite the Spirit to guide our actions. We'll take a moment to share what we seek from God today. What do you need help with? What fears vex your heart? Let us bring it all into the light. One by one, voices rose like incense, offering their hearts' burdens. Some spoke of self-doubt, others about the fear of failure. A few brought up the apprehensions about confronting societal issues like poverty and despair. Mary listened, and her heart ached along with them. These concerns weigh heavily. But what if we also focus on gratitude? What if we recognize what we have? Let us think about blessings we already carry, and build from there. Jessica raised her hand. I'm grateful for our community. Just looking around, I see strength in our diversity. We can learn from each other. David nodded. And I'm thankful for this moment right now, where we collectively share our hearts. This in itself is a miracle. Yes. The truth began to shift in the atmosphere. Hope filled the space, and one by one, more voices sprang forth. They began to laugh as they remembered joys from the previous day, promises they had made, and the genuine connections they were forming. Mary sensed something change. A warmth enveloped them, the kind that sings of divine presence. Hold tight to this feeling, she said, her heart racing. When challenges come, remember this moment. You are not alone. As people began to look at one another, an encouraging ripple of love settled over them. It was palpable, a protective shield ready to face the world beyond. But even as they stirred with excitement, another thought cast a shadow. What if things don't go as planned? A soft voice broke through. Silence enveloped the room. Mary inhaled deeply. You know, we don't always need to know how it will turn out. Sometimes it's about the journey itself, how we walk together. And through it all, Jesus will walk beside us, granting us strength even in uncertainty. The group exchanged nervous glances, but a deeper understanding began to bloom. They did not have to bear it all alone. With Christ as guiding hand, they could turn towards their mission wholeheartedly. As they concluded their gathering, Mary felt an undeniable stirring. What awaited them as they stepped into this intricate web of service and love? What unforeseen challenge would arise that would test their collective faith? With hearts ignited, they began to disperse, each person's next steps waiting like embers poised to spark a greater fire. But who would lead them onward? What radical path would ensure they followed Christ's call? In the weeks that followed, Mary sensed a transformation taking root in her community. The embers of hope she and her friends had ignited flickered brightly, lighting the way for others. Each act of love cascaded into a symphony of faith that resonated far beyond the walls of their church. Meals shared, laughter exchanged, and small gestures of kindness weaved through the hearts of neighbors like golden threads. But as they celebrated their victories, challenges emerged. One stormy evening, news rippled through the community. A devastating fire had engulfed a local shelter, displacing dozens of families. Fear fluttered in the hearts of many, uncertainty loomed like dark clouds. Would their efforts really matter in times like these? Mary took a deep breath, anchoring her spirit in prayer. She gathered her friends, their faces lit not only with concern, but with determination. "We must rise to this moment," she proclaimed, locked onto each gaze, urging them to embrace their calling. "This is our chance to show who we really are, to answer the cries for help." They organized swiftly, planning to provide shelter and support to those affected by the fire. As they worked, the sudden warmth of divine encouragement washed over Mary. Every meal prepared, every hand extended, surged with a purpose that felt otherworldly. Love flooded through their actions, unraveling walls of fear and doubt. When that fateful day came, Mary arrived at the temporary shelter just in time to witness the grace of God at work. Hearts entwined in shared stories, laughter punctuated by relief, and tearful gratitude filled the air. They stood not merely as neighbors, but as a family united by faith. Yet as the fire's aftermath began to settle, shadows returned. The dissenter, the restrained voice from before, still loomed in the background. He emerged once more, determined to sow discord. "Look at them," he sneered, addressing bystanders. "They'll fail. This is all just a show." Mary felt the sting of his words but clung tighter to her faith. "We are not here for applause," she interjected, her voice steady. "We are here to love." She gazed into the eyes of her community, seeing them reflected in every face. "Together, we have weathered storms of doubt. Let our faith echo louder." The atmosphere shifted. A palpable understanding flickered as others rose to proclaim their conviction. "Love wins!" shouted David, the community rallying behind him. The chorus of voices harmonized, drowning out cruelty with vibrations of unity. They were standing on sacred ground. In those moments, Mary realized this was the divine truth she had sought to share through trials. Their bond grew stronger, their faith unshakable despite the arrows of cynicism. This tempest would not break them, rather, it propelled them forward. Like a phoenix rising, their collective spirits soared, illuminating paths that had once felt obscured by darkness. Weeks turned into a bounty of blessings. The once weary shelter blossomed into a hub of warmth and fellowship. Families began to rebuild lives, dreams rekindled in the glow of newfound hope. Miracles unwound, children laughed where silence once lingered, and wounded hearts found healing in shared experiences. The transformed shelter, cradled with love, became a unique testament to what they could accomplish together. One evening, as the sun dipped low on the horizon, Mary stood before her congregation, her heart overflowing. "Every moment of pain has been woven into a tapestry of grace," she shared, her voice trembling with gratitude. "Together, we have embraced our mission, stepping out in faith hand in hand." Cheers erupted as their spirits surged higher. The man from before watched quietly from the back, a furrowed brow betraying his struggle with doubt. Maybe, just maybe, he began to see the reality of love manifesting through their actions, alive and vibrant. If we can extend our reach even further, think of the transformation awaiting us and others. Mary continued, her heart shining with fervent zeal. Let us not only walk together, but let this journey become our testimony, a beacon for all those lost in the storm. As the crowd erupted in affirmations and amens that echoed through the air, Mary felt a divine warmth engulfing her. This was the moment she had prayed for, the tipping point where faith met action, every heart synchronized in unison. In that sacred gathering, surrounded by love and purpose, Mary understood the great truth marked by her divine encounter. They were not merely a community. They were beacons of God's light, reflections of His grace destined to illuminate the world. With renewed vigor and hearts intertwined, they stepped boldly into tomorrow, knowing they had committed to the sacred mission bestowed upon them. An adventure of faith awaited, laden with challenges, yet wrapped in love's embrace. So, dear friends, as you reflect on this story of steadfast faith, let it inspire you to share your own journey. Stand united in love, allow divine truth to stir within you, and illuminate the world around you. Now is your moment to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread this message. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this ending. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope and transformation. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true servants of God understand the power of support in our mission.